There's so many issues that I feel that I can hit the ground running in Congress. The treatment they are offering is more sickness. 95% of Arizonans don't want chaos. You can't win one district out of 435 by simply a local race. It needs national support. I went to the office, clinic, saw patients on the front lines during the entire COVID pandemic while he was sitting in a boat voting. Regular America want good people to run.
Hello, friends. Our partner for the expedition today is Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. I am really honored that he's here. He is an outstanding public servant. He has been interviewed on this show many years ago biographically, so we don't need to cover that ground. What we are going to talk about today is why Dr. Jasser, a very, very successful physician in Arizona, has made the decision to run for Congress. This will be his second run. He ran a few years back. He did not make it, and he has made the decision to stand up as an American and run again. So, Dr. Jasser, welcome to Without Notes.
It's great to be with you, Michael. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, Doctor, let's jump in with that central question. Why did you decide to run again?
Well, I have to tell you, I think there's three different factors involved, but primarily our country needs good people running for office. The district that I'm running in, the 4th district in Arizona, can be flipped. There's a Democrat, Greg Stanton, that's been there for 4 cycles and is really a placeholder, an empty suit. And third, I think my role, not only locally in Arizona, but nationally, is a empty space that needs to be filled. And I have so many things that I can bring to the table that on day one in Congress, I can hit the ground running in a number of issues that are on the front burner for America today. Number one being, look at DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, and the jihadists that are getting elected to Congress. We need a counter narrative for not only for American security, but for the future of America, which is, you see, Adam Hamawi elected to the Democrat primary in New Jersey. You see Wahab elected to the Democrat primary in California to fill Swalwell's seat. You see Abdul Sayed elected probably in the Senate in Michigan. And a lot of these folks are pretty radical. And as you know, in my advocacy hat, I've been talking about the fact that it's not just about Muslim radicalization, but it's going to be radicalizing the left and radicalizing our country, where you see moral inversion happening, where right is wrong and wrong is right, and the day is night and night is day. I mean, things are being flipped upside down. And as a medical doctor, as an ethicist, as an activist, a family man who is worried about the country that I leave my kids, I believe, as Andrew Breitbart said, politics is always downstream of culture. And I've been trying to shape the American narrative from the advocacy role, from my professional role as a physician. I've seen my profession socialized, where government's taking over healthcare and it's becoming more and more expensive, where affordability is the problem in America because of the Unaffordable Care Act that President Obama sold us a bill of goods about. So all of these things are coming to a head, where my wife and I said, let's finish what we started in 24. I almost won the primary. It's my first time in a primary election ever as in electoral politics in 24. This time now I'm the unopposed in the primary because we're doing so well. So we're going to win the primary next week and go on to the general. And we are going to really, I think, shake the country up and show that you can have an American Muslim who's American first and looking to counter radicalization, to stand up for America both domestically and abroad, and also stand up for patients and our society and seal our borders. I'm on a border state here in Arizona. There's so many issues that I feel that I can hit the ground running in Congress, and this is the year to do it in 26.
So, Doctor, let me talk for a moment about your opponent. Your opponent has been in Congress, I think you indicated, for 4 cycles. That would be a total of 8 years. Now, 8 years is a good long time. And I would hope that a man who has been working full-time, well paid, had accomplished much in his 8-year tenure, right? If I'd been working on a project for 8 years, I hope would have accomplished much. Now, Doctor, you live in his district. What exactly has your friend, the congressman, accomplished in the last 8 years?
Well, this is why we need to replace him and retire him early. He was a previous Phoenix mayor and then did that for almost a decade, and now has been a congressman for almost a decade and has never held a real job. I would ask people to go to the website, whereisstanton.com, to see what he's done and how little he's done. He has authored one bill in 8 years, one bill that he has authored, signed on to co-sponsors other bills that his colleagues have written, but he's done virtually nothing for the district or for our country. He's squandered the platform and has really, and I think this is why I feel a calling to run, is that when you're one of 435 members, you have a platform to not only speak for your 800,000 plus constituents, but you have a platform to lead this country and walk us through as a country challenges that he has not done. I'll show in that website, you can see that ultimately, supposedly a supporter of Israel, he has sat on his hands as ASU, Arizona State University, which is in our district, was having encampments, and anti-Semitism has been flourishing, yet he said nothing. He might be voting, AIPAC has supported him, he might be voting in line with Israel when it comes to the vote, but when it comes to taking a stand against anti-Semitism and the radicalization in his own party, he, for example, has been protesting ICE in our district with Congresswoman Ansari, who just 2 weeks ago said that she would never support any funding of Israel anymore, and has really been inflaming the flames of anti-Semitism that we've been seeing on the left and the right lately. So this is the partnerships.
Are you indicating to me that you are running against a congressman in Arizona, a border state, who is opposed to ICE?
This is exactly what the so-called moderate Democrats are trying to pull the wool over America's eyes, which is they run as candidates moderate center, but yet if you look at their press conferences, he's been protesting and doing pressers in front of the ICE detention centers where we've sealed the border. I can tell you as a doctor, Michael, that in January 25, before President Trump sealed the border, one of my patients runs a drug treatment center, and she'll tell you that 95% of the beds in her drug treatment center were fentanyl overdose beds. And we've seen crime, drug problems because of the open borders of millions that President Obama and Biden allowed into our state. And a year later, in January 26, she can tell you that it went from 95% to 5% fentanyl overdose beds because of the sealing of that border. Congressman Greg Stanton has done nothing about that and actually has been trying to impede ICE's work and has been very anti-law and order. And this is not the type of state Arizona is. Now, yes, we want our law and order to be by the books. And yes, if there are any rogue officers, they need to be adjudicated and put under the, jurisdiction of what they should be doing. But at the end of the day, 95% of Arizonans don't want chaos, don't want illegal activity here, whether it's crime or other things that happen. And I've been very happy with the progress that we've made in Arizona. So yes, the Democrats have been lockstep in support of anti-police, anti-ICE, and anti-law and order, and his record shows that.
Doctor, as a medical professional, great experienced medical professional, you know how to treat disease. Malady. You know how to treat illness. That's what you do for a living. And it seems like there's some essential principles that go in. First of all, there's a Hippocratic oath in medicine. First, do no harm, right? That's the Hippocratic oath.
Yes.
And secondarily, if you give a patient medicine and the patient does not only not get better, gets worse, and then you advocate giving that patient more of the same medicine that seems to be making them worse, this seems like a a suicidal insanity. And yet, there are many, many, many congressmen, senators in the country that sat silent as the border invasion ensued, and then actually want to give Americans the exact same medicine that was making us sick in the first place. Is that a fair analogy?
100%. And it's the analogy that I've used when I testified to Congress about treating radical Islam as a Muslim, that we have to treat the condition, not the symptom of terrorism. And again, when as a politician now, I would tell you that districts like this fourth district, it used to be the Kirsten Sinema district that was very liberal, and it was redistricted in 21. And there's only been 2 cycles in which it was now really a purple independent district that can be flipped. Greg Stanton is worried about my candidacy because I can tell you, if you look at my patients that are supporting me, one of the largest families, most historic families in Arizona, the Basha family, has been supporting me, and they're a independent family. And I can tell you, if you look at the percentages in this district, 38% independent, 33% Republican, and 29% Democrat. This is a district that should have an independent to a conservative in the seat, and Stanton has been riding on fumes, and the Democrat Party and his mantra, he's not stood against them for principles of policy. He has basically allowed the radicalization of his party from the BLM movement on to now we see the DSA takeover of the party. And you're right, the treatment they are offering is more sickness, more complaints, more victimology, more not meritocracy, but rather exploitation of government in order to prevent the success of our societies and make things more and more unaffordable. And that doesn't work. We have become less safe through the grievance mongering of the Democrat Party. And I can tell you, the independents, the center of America, the 80-20 issues. For example, Greg Stanton voted in favor of having men participate in women's sports. The Supreme Court just ruled that that was illegal. That was against our Constitution.
Now,
And yet he voted for it.
As a medical doctor, what would compel a seemingly sane human being to advocate for men playing in women's sports? What would be his rationale, other than he's pandering to the radical takeover of his party? I mean, how would he justify this insanity?
This is the problem, is that we've lost the rational center. And Arizona, I believe, is one of the independent states in the country. It's considered a purple state, but in many ways, our voters will split their tickets. They don't really vote in line with party all the time. Why? Because they want candidates, they want representatives that are rational. It is irrational to allow a man to participate in a woman's sport. That's just irrational. And plus, 85% of Americans don't believe in that. Just like 88% of Americans want you to have ID when you go to vote. And yet he has not supported the SAVE Act, which is a black and white, easy act to support, which is you need to have a photo ID, a government ID when you vote. How hard is that to believe? How hard is that to effectuate? So the problem is, Michael, is that members like Greg Stanton and the left, as they allow the extreme of their party to run their party, are all about identity politics, victimology, and not about meritocracy and colorblind society. No, they have a bigotry of low expectations where they will elect Islamist radicals who hate our country, who say things about America that are just
By the way, not only
Yes.
hate our country, right, but actively state it. What I do admire in certain ways about the socialist movement in America, and there's little I admire about it, is that they're honest. They are telling you to your face, right to your face, what they feel, what they hope to do. So anyway, now talk to me, doctor, about what it's like for a non-politician. You're a medical doctor. You're not a politician. and you're running for office, most of the people watching this show throughout the world have no idea what it's like to run for political office, national political office in America. What are the challenges? Is it fundraising? Is it messaging? What is some of the challenges that prevent many good people from running?
Well, thank you for that question because I can't tell you how important it is. As a physician, you believe that we should all be rewarded based on the merit of the system, and at the end of the day, you find folks in politics and wonder how they got there, and it's because of the apparatus of the party system, if you will. But I will tell you, as a regular private practice, small practice physician, that it's been very rewarding. You go to the legislative districts, the LDs in our district, and you realize that regular America want good people to run. They want folks that not only have a great resume, but are not only say what they mean, but do what they say and say the same thing to our kids at our dinner table as we do at the legislative districts and on the stump and on TV, et cetera. And I've established that both in my activist work in healthcare for private practice and for patient rights as part of the Make America Healthy Again movement because of what happened during COVID. That's one of the reasons I'm running. There was so much of a takeover of our businesses and choices for patients through COVID pandemic, where all of a sudden businesses were shut down and things were happening in my own state, in my own district, where I thought would only happen in Syria or in China, and it was happening here. And this is because good people were not in office. We need people that can
But
protect our
doctor,
rights.
again, let me ask you again, what are some of the challenges as you run for political office? You're not a politician. You're a medical doctor. You've made the decision to run for Congress. What are some of the challenges? Is it fundraising? What are some of the difficulties that may be preventing other good people from running?
It's certainly the two things. One is getting the truth out, which is that the media cacophony, if you will, has a certain, there are things that people say that you're running against or that say about you or about about my opponent that are just untrue, that yet will get amplified based on keyboard warriors or other types of media that is very hard to influence. And the second part of that is, as you mentioned, fundraising, is that 80% of your time is spent on the phones, getting the amount of fuel you need because of the expense. We live in one of the most expensive media markets in the country in Maricopa County here in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area. And the district includes Tempe, Chandler, Phoenix and South Scottsdale. And I can tell you that there's a significant barrier there in that you can't win a race. 80% of my fundraising is from within my district and within the state. My opponent has 40% from PACs and very little small donations, et cetera. So this is one of the barriers to good people running, is that
Right.
the incumbent has fuel where Greg Stanton has 1.5 million in the bank. We've raised 600,000. We need to raise $1 million, and the NRCC, for example, won't get into supporting candidates until it's either a slam dunk or you demonstrate that you can raise a certain amount of money, et cetera. There's very risk aversity, if you will, and that they don't want to take risks nationally. So what happens is you end up with more of the same. And you look at districts that have been flipped in the past, it's usually ones that were not predictable. And yet the powers that be, where you need national support from various groups. And if you look at the three groups I speak to, the medical community, the veterans community, and the national security community, which would be the pro-Israel community, the anti-Islamist, anti-terror community that I've been very active in, getting those three groups mobilized to support my candidacy has not been as easy as I thought it would be. So that's been the challenge, is that to say that, listen, you can't win one district out of 435 by simply a local race. It needs national support in order to counter the national support that keeps DCCC and tools like Greg Stanton in place in order to counter that and flip that seat.
So what you're suggesting is that in a 100-yard dash, the incumbent starts on the 50-yard line where you start they have just such a massive advantage. Now, the other advantage, I would assume that, and tell me if I'm right, in Arizona, virtually all of the traditional mainstream media, radio, television, newspaper, magazine, internet, virtually all, not all, but virtually all, lean strongly to the Democratic Party. Is that a fair remark?
It is, especially the legacy media here in Arizona,
That's right.
which is bizarre. It ends up creating and amplifying the voices of a minority in the state because we are a by registration either independent or Republican state, and yet we have two blue senators and a blue governor because the legacy media has made it basically. And my first statement to every legislative district I say on the stump is, do you believe the media narrative on anything? And most of them say no. I say, okay, this district is pushed as a blue district. Do you believe that that's the media narrative when in fact it's not? It was redistricted and it can be flipped. So you're 100% right. You win these races through talk radio. Seth Leibson is a great friend. He's been on my steering committee with my campaign. James T. Harris those are the top two talk radio folks in Arizona, and they have been at my side with my campaign, and they're amazing. So I can tell you that's how you win races in Arizona and states like this, is not with legacy media, but with actually the viral media.
Doctor, as you're running for political office, are you still practicing medicine?
I am. I truly believe in the citizen activist, citizen politician, and that, I'm not personally wealthy, independently wealthy. So, not to mention, I do think there's a lot to be said. Now, I've ratcheted back my practice during the campaign, especially now going into the general next week, down to about 25 hours, 20 to 30 hours a week, rather than my typical 50 hours. But I will tell you that it is challenging. There's no doubt that if it was up to me, and I would love to go to every restaurant, every coffee diner, every Rotary Club, Kiwanis, etc., to meet everyone possible, but still seeing patients, and that's a way to keep in touch with the community too. Congressman Stanton has not only not finished a payroll or signed the front of a check for paychecks, but he has really only has constituents coming to him. Very little of service to the community, which is really how I established my bona fides here, is taking care of our community. 30 to 50% of my patients are in this district, and they tell me every day of what they've been suffering, the stresses of meeting their own payrolls at home with their families, etc. And our current member of Congress, I can tell you one of the things that's amazing to me, Michael, I've asked them, even the ones that support Greg Stanton that are on the left, what has he done for you? They don't know. He has really no footprint in the state
So
or
all that
nationally.
he's done for them is given them the extraordinary feeling of voting for their team. It's like a cult of voting for their team. I don't give a damn what they've done or not done, as long as they have a D by their name. And by the way, some of this exists on the right as well. And it's really remarkable. Now, two things in closing. I think you've made an interesting point. Let's think about this for a moment. If a man or woman is running for political office, right? And they have never met a payroll, balanced a budget, or created a job in their life. They have never, like in New York City, Mayor Mondani, never had a job, never met a payroll, balance. So this person has been shielded from the realities, the day-to-day, visceral, palpable realities of life, which you have not been shielded from. So this brings me to a thought that I have, and I want your reaction to it if you would be kind enough. Doctor, when I go around my city, my state, my country, and I hear, whether it's on television or in a book or a newspaper article or someone I talk to, when I hear a particularly stupid idea, I mean unbelievably stupid, like men playing in women's sports. Okay, that would be one, but there's many. Open borders, right? when I hear a stupid idea, monumentally stupid, I make two presumptions about the person. Number one, they probably went to an elite university. And number two, they probably are a PhD or someone who's never held a job. If you were a professor at Harvard, you've been shielded because you have tenure. You can say the world rotates on the back of a turtle and actually get a promotion next year. But if you're a cab driver in New York City or Phoenix or wherever, if you believe a stupid idea, you'll get in a car crash. You can't believe it, right? You can't believe the world rotates on the back of a turtle if you're a cab driver because you'll get in a car crash. So I want your reaction to that. Am I oversimplifying stupid ideas attached to people who don't live in the real world?
Not at all. I mean, in our website, whereisstanton.com, we show that picture of him voting from a boat about COVID pandemic shutdowns while he was in office as a member of Congress. His camera turned on, and there he was on a boat in Utah voting while we were being told to stay at home. I was being told to shut down my practice. We did not shut down my practice. I went to the office, clinic, saw patients on the front lines during the entire COVID pandemic while he was sitting in a boat voting and had no contact with reality. And
And
this is
by
the
the
problem.
way, not only did he do it, right? He did it. He wasn't even ashamed of doing it, right?
Exactly.
You would think if I did it, I'd at least hide it, right? But look, Dr. Jasser, I wish you well. You are an American patriot, and you're very unique in that you're a committed Muslim who loves America. It's very obviously, I don't have to tell you, this is a very unique position. And many people throughout the country and the world are very grateful to you for your advocacy on behalf of this country, which, by the way, is struggling. If when we refer to cancer, I believe, and you correct me, I'm not a doctor, there's a stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and one can quickly presume that stage 4 is a lot worse than stage 1. It's much harder to treat a stage 4 than a stage 1. Now, I don't know where America is on this stage, but guess what? It ain't in stage 1. There is a battle, and it is real. Look around at who's the mayor of New York is. I mean, these are ideas that you can simply, they're like ideas that you would expect to see on Saturday Night Live,
Yeah.
satire. And yet they're coming at us, and they're coming at us ferociously. So let me allow you a parting shot, Doctor. What is it that you have to say to Americans who are not as fully aware of the battle going on currently in this country?
Well, I think, to those who feel that districts are not in their district and they just pray and hope a good person gets elected over there, I can prosecute the case on these two major cancers that are happening to our country. One is the economic takeover, which Obama tried to start through Obamacare, the socialization, the dispensation against private practice, against free markets. I know how to prosecute that case. I also know how to prosecute the case against identity politics, DEI radicalization, the Hassan Pikers of the world who have millions of followers that are getting candidates elected, from Mamdani to Abu Sayyid to Swalwell's seat with Wahab, all of these radical jihadists. I can prosecute the case against them on day one, because if they could against me, you would have seen them doing it. And they have fled from debates from me because they know that we take away their one identity, which is they're not Americans first. They are jihadists who hate this country. And if you want to see candidates that run a campaign about why America has hope, it's the last best hope, it's the American dream that my family came to celebrate. My website is Z4AZ, Z number 4AZ, just 4 digits and letters, Z4AZ.com. And please spread the word, because all you need is one member of Congress to begin marginalizing the Ilhan Omars, Rashida Tlaibs, Andre Carsons, all these other candidates that are radicalizing the left. As AOC runs, this is not just about America. AOC is hand in arm with Ilhan Omar, just like Iran is hand in arm with China. So this is what you mentioned cancers. If we're going to fight this cancer, we need people that have served. I've served my country as a naval officer for 11 years. My family understands what legal immigration is. They got asylum here, and I believe in this country's message. They felt American the minute they got here. So if we believe that Americanism is the best ideology on the planet, it can defeat jihadists only if we have leaders in office that know how to prosecute that case, and I can do that. And please help us get across the finish line because we will flip this seat at z4az.com.
Well, thank you, Doctor. I want to end with a question that I guess was best asked by President Ronald Reagan many years ago to our friends in Arizona in your district who have lived under the 8 years of your opponent. Are you better off than you were? Do you feel more affluent, more secure, more optimistic? If the answer is not, then I think it's time to realistically thinking about change. If, again, using the medical analogy, if you're taking a medicine, right, any person who comes to see you, you prescribe a medicine. A week later, you call the patient up. Hey, Harry, hey, Sally, how are you feeling? You can either be feeling better, worse, or the same. Okay. Now, if you're feeling better, I would encourage you to continue the medicine. If you're feeling worse, I would encourage you to discontinue the medicine. And if you're feeling the same, I think we better get you back in to discuss it. A bright 10-year-old should be able to follow this train of thought. I don't understand what's complicated about this. And yet, anyway.
And
It's an honor to have you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you. And you know that you raised such a good point is that everyone I talk to, he's just been a placeholder. And it's not just about a seat, it's a voice. Our constituents need a voice in Congress for them that they can see on media on the position that we have that can be articulate to get their ideas out, to represent them. And that's what representative democracy is all about. And thank you for your friendship and giving me an opportunity to let more people know about what a difference we can make in the halls of Congress.
Thank you, Dr. Jasser.
Thank you, Michael. God bless. Appreciate it.